Light and space, I don't think you can separate. I think one defines the other. Light defines space, and space defines light. If you look into it, and when I refer to light, I refer to natural light. I don't think you can make a reference to let's say artificial light, but that's where really I draw my inspiration from, and try to kind of capture a moment, out of those infinite sort of moments that exist in nature, really. So when it comes to approaching light as a designer of decorative lighting, I try to see it in relation to the space that it's in, its position, at which kind of part of the space does it occupy, in the same way as natural light, is allowed in through defined openings, and it changes, and it's something quite dynamic. So my approach to lighting, when it comes to designing fixtures, is to allow for that playfulness to exist, and that surprise element to be there, rather than everything appearing at a click of a button. Design lighting in specific, I always start from the glow. The illumination for me is really the starting point of my design process. And when I talk about the glow, I talk about the glow as let's say, a source where everything starts defining the space that it occupies. A light is a very different kind of object. Like it's very different than anything else in design. In the fact that it actually has two lives, one when it's on and one when it's off. And 90% of the time when you experience a light is actually off. When you suddenly turn something on, something very different starts happening. The scenario is totally changes. And the glow actually interacts with the physicality of the object, and then the object with the space around it. You suddenly start having shadows, and the space. The perception of space completely changes. So that dynamic element is not experienced in any other type of product. So for me, this is really an important starting point of defining, let's say, the volume that a light occupies. In design, nothing is new, and I think in any creative practice, nothing is new. At some point in history, your idea existed in a different form, done by a different kind of person, creative person. So I think claiming fame also for something that is yours and only yours is completely wrong. I'm not against technology, but I think it's very important for designers to tame technology. Not to be overwhelmed by the presence of technology and feel obliged that we need to kind of bring it out in the most sort of evident and obvious way. And, in a sense of how do you actually define light in your environment, and I'm completely against this idea of the click of a button, achieve instant, let's say, moods, effects, in your space. And that's why I always kind of struggled with architectural lighting, because every time I was invited in a bigger project, in sort of a commercial space, in defining, my idea of lighting, I always sort of had to kind of struggle in a sense of, achieving certain fundamental requirements in terms of, let's say, how much illumination and blind spots, dark spots, and I think the elimination of this is what makes a space soulless for me. So I love darkness, and I think that the way to become a lighting designer is actually through darkness, through being able to embrace darkness. And at least only then, when you introduce something, then it becomes meaningful.